Hello friends, welcome back to Shiji classes, and in this video we are going to discuss on drugs for bronchial asthma. So first of all we will discuss the bronchial asthma in short. So it is characterized by the hyperresponsiveness of the tracheobronchial smooth muscle. It is a primarily inflammatory condition. Allergy, infection and psychological factors may precipitate an attack of asthma in susceptible individuals. There are mainly two types of asthma, extrinsic and intrinsic asthma. The extrinsic asthma is mostly episodic and it is less prone to status asthmaticus, whereas the intrinsic asthma tends to be perennial and status asthmaticus is more common here. Now we will discuss some pathophysiology of bronchial asthma. Allergy, in which the allergen is the antigen, and against this antigen IgE antibodies are produced, which stimulates the mast cells and causes its degranulation, and this will release its inflammatory mediators. It has been divided into three types. Immediate release is of histamine, protease enzyme and TNF alpha. Within minutes, prostaglandins, leukotrienes and platelet activating factor is released, and over hours interleukins and TNF alpha are released, because activation of genes followed by the protein synthesis occurs, which takes much time. This inflammatory mediators will cause bronchial smooth muscle constriction, mucosal edema, hyperemia, produces viscid secretions, and airway remodeling occurs over time. Now we will discuss the classification of anti-asthmatic drugs. First of all, the anti-IgE antibody like omalizumab. Second, mast cell stabilizers like nadochromyl, sodium chromoglycate and ketotifen. Leukotriene receptor antagonists, montelukast and zafirlukast. Then bronchodilators, they are called the relievers. They are selective beta-2 agonists like salbutamol, terbutaline, salmeterol, formoterol and bambuterol. Non-selective beta agonists like adrenaline, isoprenaline and ephedrine. Methylxanthines like theophylline, aminophylline, caffeine, doxophylline, choline, theophylinate and hydroxyethyl theophylline. And the last one are the anticholinergics, ipratropium bromide, tiotropium bromide and glycopyrronium. The last one are the corticosteroids. The systemic corticosteroids are hydrocortisone, prednisolone, dexamethasone, whereas the inhalational ones are fluticasone, budesonide, cyclizonide, flunisolide, beclomethasone dipropiate and mometazone. Now whatever the anti-asthmatic drugs I have told you, please correlate with this. Okay, first of all, here we can block. So anti-IgE antibody, which is that one? That is omalizumab. It will act here. Now mast cell. Which drugs will act here? Mast cell stabilizers like nadochromyl, sodium chromoglycate and ketotifen. Good. Then here the leukotriene receptor antagonists like montelukast and zafirlukast can be given, which blocks here. And the bronchial smooth muscle constriction, for this we will use the bronchodilators like selective beta-2 agonist or non-selective beta agonist, methylxanthines and anticholinergics. Now here leukotriene receptor antagonists will act here, and they are montelukast and zafirlukast. And here the bronchial smooth muscle constriction, we can give bronchodilators like selective beta-2 agonist, non-selective beta agonist, methylxanthines or anticholinergics. Okay, so correlate this with the anti-asthmatic drug. It will be easy for you. Now we will discuss the drugs in detail. First of all, the sympathomimetics, which will act on the beta-2 receptors in the bronchial smooth muscle and mast cell and increases the cyclic AMP, which will cause bronchodilation, inhibit the mast cell degranulation and promote the mucociliary clearance. Okay, these three steps you should remember, which is done by increasing of cyclic AMP. Sympathomimetics includes two types, selective beta-2 agonist and non-selective beta agonist. Here I have drawn the table of selective beta 2 agonist, and that has been classified into SABA, LABA and ultra LABA. SABA stands for short acting beta 2 agonist, LABA long acting beta 2 agonist, and ultra LABA. Okay, first of all, the onset of action of SABA is 5 minutes, LABA 30 minutes, and it is having slow onset. Duration of action 6 hour, 12 hour and 24 hour. Hence this one is the longest acting. SABA is quick and short acting drugs. LABA are slow but long acting drugs. The SABA, here salbutamol and terbutaline are there. The route of salbutamol is inhalational through pressurized metered dose inhaler, oral or intramuscular. The terbutaline is having route inhalational, subcutaneous or oral. The dose here is 100 to 200 microgram. Salmeterol and formoterol are the drugs. The dose is 50 microgram of salmeterol and 12 to 24 microgram of formoterol. The salmeterol is more beta 2 selective than the salbutamol. It is a bronchodilator for maintenance therapy and nocturnal asthma. Formoterol, it is having faster onset of action. Hence, so it is used in SMART therapy. It is used on a regular morning-evening schedule for round-the-clock bronchodilation. In the ultra LABA, we have indacaterol, olodaterol and vilanterol. The use here is in prophylaxis or maintenance of COPD. They are given once a day. The SABA uses are: first, acute attack of asthma or COPD. Second, acute attack of aspirin-induced asthma. So for prophylaxis we give inhaled corticosteroids. Subcutaneous terbutaline for brittle or severe asthma. The side effects of SABA are tremors. Most commonly the tremors are the side effect. Next, tachycardia and palpitation, throat irritation, ankle edema, hypokalemia, hyperglycemia, ventilation perfusion mismatch, restlessness, nervousness. Tolerance develops on chronic use. And so, to avoid this tolerance development, we add inhaled corticosteroid. In the LABA, they are equivalent to inhaled anticholinergics in the COPD. Always used in the combination with inhaled corticosteroid, as tolerance to beta blocker develops due to downregulation of beta 2 receptor on chronic use. This I have told here also. And here in the ultra LABA, the route is inhalational in the powder form or in the solution form. In the powder form, indicaterol and vilanterol is used, and in the solution form, olodaterol is used. The side effects are cough, nasopharyngitis and dizziness. Okay, quick review here. Selective beta 2 agonist, SABA, LABA and ultra LABA. What are the drugs included? Salbutamol, terbutaline. LABA, salmeterol, formoterol. Ultra LABA, indicaterol, olodaterol and vilanterol. And some few important points like SABA, quick and short acting drugs in acute attack of asthma or COPD, acute attack of aspirin induced asthma, and subcutaneous terbutaline for brittle or severe asthma. Tremors are the more common side effect. In the LABA, they are slow but long acting drugs, and here it should be combined with inhalational corticosteroid. And in the ultra LABA, for prophylaxis or maintenance of COPD. Next, bambuterol. It is a biscarbamate ester prodrug of terbutaline. It is slowly hydrolyzed in the plasma and lungs by pseudocholinesterase enzyme. Used in nocturnal and chronic asthma. Dose 10 to 20 mg oral OD once a day. Next, we will see the non-selective beta agonist. They are adrenaline, isoprenaline and ephedrine. Adrenaline, the receptors through which it acts are beta 1, beta 2 and alpha. Isoprenaline, beta 1 and beta 2. And for ephedrine, alpha, beta 1 and beta 2. Adrenaline. It is the drug of choice for brittle asthma, or you can say it chaotic variation. Dose 0.2 to 0.5 ml of 1:1000 solution subcutaneously. Dangerous cardiac side effects are there. Ephedrine, it is an oral long-acting drug. Duration of action 3 to 5 hours. Use mild to moderate chronic asthma. Now we will discuss about the leukotriene antagonist. LOX, that is lipooxygenase enzyme. Through this, leukotrienes are produced. They are LTB4, C4 and D4. They will act through the cysteine leukotriene 1 receptors and causes the action, that is bronchoconstriction, inflammation, edema and mucus secretion. Now we will see the drugs which are acting in between this. Xilotone, it will inhibit the LOX enzyme. It is a 5-LOX inhibitor, block the leukotriene synthesis, and the side effect is hepatotoxicity, and hence xilotine is not used now. It is an oral drug. Now leukotriene receptor antagonist. They will act here on the cysteine leukotriene receptors and block them. The leukotriene receptor antagonists are montelukast and zafirlukast. Now we will discuss the difference between these two. The plasma T-half of zafirlukast is 8 to 12 hours, for montelukast is 3 to 6 hours. It is metabolized by CYP2C9, whereas montelukast is metabolized by CYP2C9 and CYP3A4. The route is oral and they are highly plasma protein bound. Next we will discuss the uses. First, prophylactic therapy of mild to moderate asthma. Second, aspirin or exercise induced asthma. Third, allergic rhinitis and conjunctivitis. And lastly we will discuss the side effects. They are abdominal pain, rashes, headache and Churg-Strauss syndrome. This is important, Churg-Strauss syndrome. Next, mast cell stabilizers. They prevent mast cell degranulation and they are not bronchodilators. On long-term treatment, they decreases the cellular inflammatory response and also decreases the hyperreactivity of the bronchus. Antigen-antibody reaction is not affected here. The drugs are nadochromine, sodium chromoglycate and ketotifen. Nadochromine and sodium chromoglycate are given through inhalation route. Ketotifen is given oral. Now sodium chromoglycate. The use. In bronchial asthma as a prophylactic agent it is used and also in the mild to moderate case. Second, allergic rhinitis. Regular 4 times daily as nasal spray for symptomatic improvement. Chromoglycate is not a nasal decongestant. Third, allergic conjunctivitis and dermatitis. Side effects are bronchospasm, cough and throat irritation. Ketotifen. It has an antihistaminic action and the side effects are sedation, dry mouth, dizziness, weight gain and nausea. Anti-IgE monoclonal antibody and this is omalizumab. It is an antibody against IgE. It prevents binding of IgE to the mast cell and thus prevents mast cell degranulation. Use in moderate to severe asthma and allergic disorders as a prophylactic agent. Side effect. It is having local side effect like redness, stinging, itching and induration. It is administered subcutaneously. It reduces the exacerbations and steroid requirement. No benefit in non-allergic asthma. Next, corticosteroids. They are the most effective anti-inflammatory drugs. They act by inhibiting the cytokine production. Glucocorticoid induces synthesis of lipoprotein that will inhibit the phospholipase A2 and thus prevents formation of prostaglandins and leukotrienes. Glucocorticoid. They suppress inflammatory gene, decreases mucosal edema and reduces the bronchial hyperreactivity. They improve the airflow and reduces the asthma exacerbations. They increase airway smooth muscle responsiveness to beta-2 agonist and thus prevents the development of tolerance to beta-2 agonist. There are two types of corticosteroids, systemic and inhaled. First of all, we will discuss the systemic corticosteroids. Hydrocortisone, dexamethasone given IV, prednisolone and methylprednisolone given orally. The side effects are osteoporosis, HPA axis suppression, that is hypothalamo-pituitary axis suppression, hypertension, muscle weakness, and early cataract with fragile skin. Uses: first, in severe uncontrolled asthma, they are given. Start with prednisolone 20 to 60 mg, then attempt dose reduction after 1 to 2 weeks, and finally try to shift on the inhaled corticosteroid. Second, status asthmaticus, that is acute asthma exacerbation. IV hydrocortisone is given. Next, inhaled corticosteroids. They are safe in pregnancy. High topical and low systemic action is there. Minimum systemic side effects. Indicated in all cases of severe persistent bronchial asthma when inhaled beta-2 agonists are required almost daily. Start with 100 to 200 microgram BD, that is twice a day. Titrate dose upward every 3 to 5 days, maximally for 400 microgram QID, that is 4 times a day. Peak effect is seen after 4 to 7 days. The drugs included are bedomethasone dipropriate. It is an intranasal spray. 50 microgram BD or TDS is given and used in perineal rhinitis. Next, budesonide. It is a non-halogenated glucocorticoid. High topical raised to systemic ratio. 200 to 400 microgram per day is given. It is given prophylactically or for the treatment of seasonal and perennial allergic or vasomotor rhinitis and also nasal polyposis. Contraindications. They are contraindicated in presence of infection or nasal ulcers. The next drug is fluticasone propionate. It is the most potent and longer acting drug. Next, flunisolide, mometasone and cyclosenide. It is a soft steroid. It is a prodrug that is cleaved by esterases in the bronchial epithelium. Oral bioavailability is less than 1%. It is highly plasma protein bound. Use: first, for prophylaxis of asthma, and second, high dose inhaled corticosteroid in advanced COPD with frequent exacerbations. Side effects: hoarseness of voice, dysphonia, sore throat, and oral candidiasis. The systemic side effects include mood changes, OP, GR, HPA axis suppression, and bruising. And the systemic side effects are seen only at more than 600 microgram per day usage. What can we do for oral candidiasis? Gargling should be done, and if it occurs, then the treatment is nystatin or clotrimazole. Now we will discuss about the anticholinergics. They block M3 receptor and thus blocks acetylcholine or vagal-induced bronchoconstriction. They act primarily in larger airways which receive vagal innervation. The drugs are ipratropium bromide, tiotropium bromide, glycopyrronium bromide, and umeclidinium. Out of this, the ipratropium bromide is a short-acting drug. The duration of action is 4 to 6 hours. Otherwise, all are long-acting drugs. Now, uses. First, in bronchial asthma, beta-2 agonists are preferred more than the anticholinergics. Anticholinergics are the drug of choice for patients on beta blockers, and they are also add-on drugs. Second, asthmatic bronchitis, COPD, and psychogenic asthma. Here, anticholinergics are more preferred, and they are given prophylactically. Now, understand this figure. This is a lung, and on the larger airways you can see here are the M3 receptors, and in the alveoli you can see the beta-2 receptors. So in COPD the vagal or cholinergic tone increases, and that causes the bronchoconstriction, and it is the major reversible component of airway obstruction in COPD, whereas the asthma is an hypersensitivity reaction. Hence, anticholinergics are more preferred here because they will act here on the M3 receptors and antagonizes them. Third, combined beta-2 agonist and ipratropium bromide. More marked and longer lasting bronchodilation is seen here. Used for terminating severe exacerbations of asthma or COPD. Fourth, nebulized ipratropium and salbutamol. They are given for refractory asthma. Side effects: as they are administered as aerosol, minimal anticholinergic side effects like dry mouth or urine retention can cease. Lastly, we will discuss the methyl xanthines. The naturally occurring methylated xanthine alkaloids are caffeine, theophylline and theobromine. Roflumilast. It is a phosphodiesterase 4 inhibitor used only in moderate to severe cases of COPD. Side effect is diarrhea. Next, theophylline. It crosses the placenta and is secreted in the milk, and it is 50% plasma protein bound. Metabolized in liver by CYP1A2. THAF in adults is 7 to 12 hours, whereas THAF in premature infant is 24 to 36 hours. Mechanism of action and the pharmacological actions of methyl xanthines. First, inhibition of phosphodiesterase. ATP with the help of adenylyl cyclase get converted into the cyclic AMP. Then with the help of phosphodiesterase, it gets converted into the 5-AMP. Theophylline will inhibit this enzyme. And now the cyclic AMP level will rise. So due to increase in cyclic AMP level, there occurs bronchodilation, cardiac stimulation, vasodilatation, and inhibit release of histamine and SRSA. Apoptosis of eosinophils and neutrophils is seen. Improves mucociliary clearance. Second, blockade of adenosine A1 receptor. Now what is an adenosine? What does it do in our body? First, it is a local mediator. It causes bronchoconstriction, dilates cerebral vessels, depresses the cardiac pacemaker, that is decreases heart rate, inhibits gastric secretion, decreases renal blood flow, and it is an endogenous anti-epileptic drug. Now, all the opposite of these actions occur here because there is a blockade of adenosine receptor. Pharmacological action is biliary spasm is relieved. Here bronchoconstriction. So, what will be the pharmacological action? That is bronchodilation. Theophylline is more potent than caffeine for this. It dilates cerebral vessels. So, what is the pharmacological action? Opposite one is CNS stimulants. Caffeine is more active than theophylline, but theophylline is more toxic than caffeine. Alertness and improves risk performance and motor activity is seen by this. At high dose, nervousness, restlessness, insomnia, panic, tremor, delirium and convulsions are seen. Adenosine decreases renal blood flow. So if we are blocking this, so it will act as a mild diuretic that will inhibit the sodium and water tubular reabsorption and increases the renal blood flow. Enhances acid and pepsin secretion in stomach, stimulates the heart and increases the force of contraction and heart rate. Cardiac output and work is increased, constricts cerebral blood vessels and dilates coronary blood vessels. Third action is release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum only at high concentrations. The pharmacological action is it enhances contractile power of skeletal muscle and enhances the diaphragmatic contractility. Fourth, increases acetylcholine release by caffeine, and the action is facilitates neuromuscular transmission, increases BMR and increases plasma free fatty acid level. Histone deacetylase activation. So it will suppresses the pro-inflammatory gene transcription and causes an anti-inflammatory action. Now we will discuss the preparation and doses. Theophylline. The dose is 15 mg per kg per day. Oral SR, that is sustained release tablets, are given. The serum level should be in between the 5 to 15 microgram per ml. Aminophylline 5 to 7 mg per kg. Oral or slow IV infusion is given. It is an theophylline ethylene diamine complex and it is not given intramuscularly or subcutaneously as it is a highly irritating substance. Etofillin. It is an hydroxyethyl theophylline. The dose is 250 mg oral or IV or IM and it is less irritating one. theophylline ethanolate of piperazine. The dose is 250 to 500 mg oral or IV. Next, doxycycline. Dose is 400 mg OD or BD. It is a long-acting methylxanthine and less likely to cause GI and CNS side effects. Now we will discuss the side effect of theophylline. It is having narrow therapeutic index, so monitoring should be required. Side effects are first, headache, nervousness and nausea, vomiting. They are the early symptoms. Insomnia, renal diuresis, restlessness, tremors, palpitations, hypotension, tachycardia, which can lead to arrhythmia, seizures. Rapid IV injection causes precordial pain, syncope, and sudden death due to marked fall in BP or ventricular arrhythmias, or can be asystole. Use as add-on drug in moderate to severe persistent asthma and also in the COPD. Second, apnea and premature infant. Caffeine or aminophylline is given IV and they decreases the duration of apnea episodes. Lastly, we will discuss the interactions. Theophylline is metabolized by CYP1A2 in liver. So, drugs that increases theophylline metabolism are rifampicin, barbiturates, phenytoin. Others are smoking, high protein diet, and in children. Drugs that decreases theophylline metabolism are ketoconazole, cimetidine, erythromycin, ciprofloxacin, allopurinol, oral contraceptives, and others are high carbohydrate, elderly, liver failure and pneumonia, and in the CHF. Theophylline enhances the effects of furosemide, digitalis, oral anticoagulants, hypoglycemics, and sympathomimetics. Theophylline decreases the effects of phenytoin and lithium. So here we have completed our drugs for bronchial asthma. Thanks for watching my video, and if you found it helpful then please like, share and subscribe.